There we go. And let me share my screen. So good morning, everybody. Because the MLS isn't working, we are going a slightly different direction on getting our, I got to turn on the chat. Where's the chat? Hi, They do so many things weird when you're doing this thing. Remote control, stop participants. I'm not seeing the, oh, there it is, right at the top. Okay, got the chat. So because the MLS isn't working quite properly, I'm going to go into this like you've logged in or you're already into the CMA. Thursday's class, I will show you how to import over, but let's pretend for the sake of argument that I've logged into CMA and some of the things have changed here. You can see I can do a new report, CMA, a buyer tour. Sorry, I'm letting somebody in, a property tour or a flyer. So let's start with CMA. And it pulls up here. And my CMA that I'm going to do is going to be for Cheryl since she's home with a broken arm. Has newly broken arm. Okay, everybody following that? Okay, unless I see anybody screaming. So Cheryl's house, she's at 8110 East Old Mill Court in Wichita, Kansas. And you'll notice that starts pulling this up. The good thing about that is if it pulls it up and if the address is right, 90% of the time you'll get the square footage, the bedrooms, and the baths. Now, I happen to know that the square footage is wrong on this house because that's the main floor square footage, and this has a fully finished basement. That has to do with our MLS and changes and how the rest of the country sees it. So I'm going to go ahead and finish in this basement at 3,200 feet. And I'm going to add one more bedroom. And it's got 3 full baths. It's residential and so on.
You back up. You put 1 bedroom. You meant to put 4, I think.
Thank you. I could add a photo here if I wanted to, but I'm not going to. So if nothing else, if you've never looked in the MLS, if you haven't done anything, if you're not Lance with spreadsheets, and I say that only because Lance actually has the most fabulous CMA spreadsheets there are. That was envy. That is not critical at all. Automatically pick the 10 nearest listings. Now, this is really, really good if you're out in the field or you've got to do something quick, but you're not trying to be precise. I just want to get the next 10 closest listings going back a year. And I could add some criteria if I wanted to. I could say it's got to have 4, and I'm going to go ahead and add some just so I can get a little closer on my CMA. It's got to have 3 to 4 baths. And I'm going to do a square foot of 2,800 to, let's say, 3,600. That's it. Those are all the things I can put in here. The reason this works is because CloudCMA is fully tied into our MLS. Could I do a closer CMA? Yeah, I might want to know how many garages comes to mind immediately for me. I happen to know that this house we're looking at backs up to a lake. That would be important to know. And I can also see that there's not very many houses in that square footage that's sold in the area I want. It just took the 10 closest ones, but none of them up here. But for the purpose of this, I'm not going to go back and try to get anything more precise. I want to show you more about the program than how to select your listings. Does everybody agree with that?
Right.
I got a quick question for you. When
Yes,
you put the
sir.
square footage in, it is figuring on AGLA, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Because you'll see that here on Killarney Place and on Charlotte and Foster, they do have more of the full square footage, DHELA. And for those of you a little newer, that means above ground living area.
Okay, but that's not just above ground, that's total. I'm
I'm
confused.
sorry, then maybe I confused Lance's questions. I'm looking at total finished living area,
Right.
Lance.
Okay, that TFLA is what you're.
Correct. Thank you. TFLA. Okay, because in the rest of the country, they don't have finished basins like we do. So it's a little hard to get a program that exactly does it. That's why our MLS is always going to be a more reliable source for you to do this. And indeed, that's the way I would bring it over. But for the purposes of this, I just wanted to do that. Now, I may want to go ahead and add Lake Point Drive just because I think it's a good idea. And, oh, let's see if there's anything else. I'm going to add this one. So I now have 2 actives, 2 pending, and 8 sold. Now, again, normally I would say go into the MLS, pick your precise listings that you want to use, and then bring them over here. But this will work for this purpose. One thing I could do is set a price, even though I don't want to yet. And I can add further sheets. If I put the price guide and net sheet, I can see the averages and so on. And then I could set a price maybe because I've decided on the average square foot and whatnot. And normally when you do a CMA, you would have all that stuff in there before you came over and say, I want to make a presentation. But I'm going to go into customize my report. So this has a lot of the pages already pre-selected for you. We've added a whole bunch of new pages. The report itself added new pages. So I would strongly suggest that you guys go through here and look at the pages and see if there's something you want in your report, because it gets very, very lengthy. And there are pages that are not in the report yet. I could add what is a CMA. And when I put it over here, it's going to add it at the bottom, because that's where pre-selected, I decided that page ought to be in the presentation. But Chris and Brenda may decide they want the what is the CMA page clear down at the bottom. And all I do is click on it, hold it, and take it to where I want it to be. Or I can take it back to the top.
Can I jump in here and ask a quick question?
Just a moment. Or
Okay.
I could remove that page and put it back over here by clicking on the little red, any of these that have the little red thing. Okay, what's your question?
So, like for example, you've got your CMA report has got the very first 2 is custom cover and our vision.
Uh-huh.
I don't have those on mine.
Okay.
So where do I find those? They would be under custom pages.
Well, if you ever, and the only way I can find out now, see, I'm clicking on the little arrow down here to see what, to
Right.
expand everything. So I'm going to remove our custom cover. And it went into over here under the introduction. So when I click on it, it adds it back in right at the top. So you can expand all those and look, or you can decide if you have something you don't know where it's at, that's basically I did it. So if I remove the title page, it goes back over here into the introduction, the custom cover, back over there and so on. If there's something over here you don't know what it is, see how the little eyeball pops up next to it? You can click on that eyeball and it shows you what the page looks like. And Miranda says, make sure your theme is BHGRE 2020. Now, I told them to auto default you guys to BHGRE 2020. Thank you, Miranda. If it's not, you can click on it and change it. When I click on it, I can say BHGRE Alliance 2020, or I can get rid of all the custom theming and all of the BHGRE stuff and just do a color. I think you ought to be on the BHGRE 2020. Everybody follow that?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
Well, that's because I think you ought to use my theme most of the time. And now it's applying theme and thinking. Layout, 2 photos. Well, if you want your layout to have photo with a map, 2 photos, and so on, you can choose those. And we'll get to the templates in a minute. So once you have all of your pages the way you want it, you can go forward. If you don't know what a page is, click on it, the little eyeball, and look at it. In the old days, we didn't have that. We had to print everything out to decide and keep going through the pages. Well, I don't want my resume, or I don't like my resume the way it is. So if I click on it to remove it, or I can edit it. Well, this is what the content of the page would look like. And you can add things. I've been here, I've been a president, I have lots of experience, I have enough education, my associations, and I put personal information. It's called personal for a reason. I could add to that, but I adore my grandchildren. And when I save this, this will save it for all my presentations. Now, some of you may open yours up and say, well, wait a minute. Greg has these little headings with bullet points. Why don't I have those? Well, this stuff across here is how I added those. It's called a WYSIWYG editor. So I wanted bullet points. I could change it to number points if I want. I could add a link in there, but I always wondered why I'd want to have a link in a printed document. I can put photos in there. So I can add a lot of this stuff to my agent resume right here, and it will save it for all my agent resumes. About our company. Here's some things that we wrote in the beginning that went in there. If you don't like it, you could say, I'm on the West Side office and those Easties really suck. I never want to be part of them. And you could put that in there. I would prefer you not do that because I think the Easties are just fine. It's the Westies that have a problem. Now, it's just a joke, guys, really. But you could change it to be what you want. If you look at that page and say, I don't want our company page, remove it. Some of the listing stuff you kind of have to have in there, but I could remove all the details, all the adjustments, all the photos, and then listing goes away. Now I got to go back and put them in. Details, photos, first dozen on one page, more photos, all the rest. And there's an adjustment page if you want to go through and make adjustments for your properties to say, why is this one worth more? Why is this worth less? Of course, it's hard to look at because there's nothing in there yet. Analysis chapter. And again, if you want to know what it is, look at the analysis, and that's basically just a heading page to put in front of the analysis and keep going. Now, does everybody understand the concept of looking at the pages and seeing what they say and what you want in your presentation or not? I see heads going up and down and thumbs.
Hey, Greg, I have a question, comment,
Yes.
whatever. I just recently did a CMA and the contact page was really cool. The only reason I bring this up is because you said you didn't understand why someone would put a hyperlink in a printed report, but on the contact me page that printed on my CMA, it had a QR code and a person could scan that code and the this entire file will download to their phone. Wouldn't the hyperlinks be active then?
Well, the hyperlinks you could if you're on your phone and you click on it, but a lot of people use this just as a straight printed PDF.
Sure.
So when you make a book out of it, then you would have to scan the QR code. You can't click on the link. Do you understand? Sure. But yes, it would be active if they put it on their phone. Now, one of the things I want to point out is most of the time, if you decide And you see, there's a lot of pages I didn't include over here. Staging your houses, the showings checklist, features that help you sell. There's a whole bunch more I could build into this that I haven't. And I encourage you strongly to look at all these pages. For time's sake, I'm not doing that. But I want you to, one, understand the concept of putting them in and out, and two, looking at each page and deciding if you're wanting to use them. So for instance, your open house showing checklist. I think that would be a very good page because it tells people how to get ready for a showing. And some of you may already have pages built for this and you don't need it. Some of you may not. But one of the things I like about this being in your book is it reminds you to discuss with your client, if you're going to have a showing on your house, please do A, B, and C, and D. And then you can leave them a piece of paper that lays it out more. But let's go to the next little basics. If you have everything set the way you want, you can just be done and you're over with. But what if you have everything the way you want for a certain type of client? What if you have short sales that you want to add to this? What if you want to have client testimonials in and some not? What if you want to have what if you want to have one that doesn't have the 360 photos because you don't, it's a lower end house and you don't want to do 360? One of the things that you can do is entirely save up, put everything in that you want for a CMA report, and then save it. So right now, this is an unsaved template. I'm going to click on it, and it's going to say, what do you want to do? Well, I want to make a new one so I can save this as a template. Does that make sense to everybody? You follow what I did. I've got this every way the way I want it for high-end properties. So I'm going to click on this to save this as a template. And I'm going to save it as, I clicked on it, it changes to allow me to name it high-end property. Now I save it. And there, I've done it. So now in the future, I can click on this to save that, to select a template. So maybe this isn't a high end. I click on that template icon and I want to use the template pre-listing packet. So now it's going to choose all the pages that I selected for a pre-listing packet. Do you see how that worked? You want me to do another one so that you can see how it works again? Maybe this is no longer a pre-listing packet. So remember, I've selected my addresses. I've selected my listings that I want to use through the down and dirty, but I don't want to send them a pre-listing packet. I want to send them, let's see, Greg CMA pages. So I click on Greg CMA, and these are the pages that come in. So you can choose as you're going through the kind of CMA that you want to send a client, be it a CMA, a high end, a short sell. You might have one that you do for investors. Maybe you work for an investor all the time and you don't want to send them all the fluff marketing because you work with them all the time. You want to get down and dirty. Okay, do that. But you have to choose the pages that you want to use. Then you have to save that as a template. And you can click on the little template icon, save, which would be ask you to rename it, or choose something that you've already chosen. Does that make sense to everybody?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Easier than it used to be.
I'm sorry, what?
It's easier to template than it used to be.
It's much easier to template than it used to be. Hence why we're in here showing you guys this basics again. So then I publish my report. Now then, when you publish a report, you're going to see a couple of things happen. First off, it saves everything you've ever done going back forever. You have to go in and physically remove somebody. So that means if I did something, let's see, I did this a year ago, I could go in and update it with new listings and not have to put everything back in again. Cheryl's now came up, and I have a choice of editing, which takes me back into, here's the property. We did it down and dirty. If I already had MLS numbers in there, it would have it. I could go and look at the listings again, or I could just go straight to customize and publish. Maybe this was a pre-listing and now I want to make it a full listing. Well, I could go to customize and choose a different template. Maybe I want an email follow-up page. So after I've sent them this, I just want to go a brief email thing and I publish it. But for our purpose, I guess I want you guys to get that concept. But when I look here, I can view live or I can view the PDF. I'm going to cover the view live on Thursday, but let's go to the PDF for a minute. And it pulls up the entire printable PDF. Now then, if I had set up, and I know some of you want to use pages that come directly from the MLS, and I understand that. You'd prefer not to put things in here. I could go in and choose all the pages that I want to put in my publication. I could put them in the order that I want in my publication. And then I could open it up in Acrobat right here and save it. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay then. So I flipped through a lot of pages really quickly there. Some of the new ones that we do is we've added the moves. I have not put the text message in yet because we've just gotten the text message and I don't have a public flyer yet. We've still got the showing page. We did completely redo the process page. Instead of having the lines going through all the boxes about, I listed it, I decided to organize it. So list home, this is all the steps we go through. Offers received, this is all the steps and so on. That's still the same. That's still mostly the same. I redid the marketing your home page to take the NAR graphs out and publish them in here. Shows kind of the trend of why we don't use newspaper as much anymore and how people find the houses. Ongoing activities and so on. And this is a sold property analysis. They've redone some pages to make them a bit cleaner and hopefully a bit easier for your client to understand, including this estimate page. It now shows the variation in estimate from what a house sold for versus what this estimate was. So if you haven't looked at these pages since we've upgraded it, they have changed significantly. And even though you may still like the MLS pages, there might be some advantages over here, especially in those estimate pages that you don't get right now. So I have been talking nonstop for half an hour. I'm going to stop my share, go back to grid, ask if we have any questions.
Greg, I have a number of questions. First and foremost, is there any chance that you can add the CloudCMA link to our broker engine where we've got the drop down of all the other links?
I can, but I cannot make it single sign-on. In fact, I think it's in there without the single sign-on.
I just went in and checked when I first logged in and I didn't see it in the list.
Well, let me double check okay, I will add it. How's that? I will get that added.
Next question is under the testimonials. I'm sitting here playing with the real satisfied agent ratings, testimonial tree reviews, and so forth, and I'm not seeing anything when I click on the eyeballs. So if I drag it over, like the testimonial tree reviews, it says testimonial tree email, testimonial credentials.
Okay, so let me pop a nice little surprise for you. come January, BHG is going to quit using Real Satisfied. They're going to do a product that they currently own. I got a demo of that this end of last week. One of the things that is a priority to them is to make sure that they can bring over all your testimonial / ratings from Real Satisfied into the new product. So for now, to get your testimonials into CloudCMA, I'm suggesting we wait, and if you don't already have it, don't do it until after the first of the year, because it will change.
With that being said, one of the pages I have, one or two pages I have in my presentation is I took PowerPoint and I copied, snipped a bunch of the testimonials that I have from Real Satisfied and made it one page. So under the custom pages, as I'm building my CMA report, how do I go in and add pages?
Well, one, that's part of what I'm going to show you Thursday. But if you want to get a head start on it, you can click on your picture in the upper right-hand corner and drop down 3 or 4 places. It says custom pages. And from there, you can add all the custom pages that you want in your personal presentation that you can do as much as you want to. And in fact, one of the custom pages I added to play was video tests, because you can also take a YouTube video and add it in your presentation. Now, again, a video presentation on a printed CMA is not going to do you much good. But as was pointed out, you can have that, Tanya said, you can scan that QR code, or you can be emailing this presentation to people, and then they can open it up and look at the video via email. So there are several things that you can add in there so that every time you do a presentation, you can print it out. Now let me take something to Lance's point, because I've seen his presentation, I've seen what it looks like in PowerPoint, and I understand why some of you guys do it. It can be extremely powerful. However, it's a lot harder to email, and the record keeping becomes. Hang on, I don't know who's done. Please mute your microphone. I'm going to mute it. It's Cindy. And so one of the reasons I like using CloudCMA is not to get you away from the MLS at all. I think the MLS is our most powerful tool. One of the reasons I like you using CloudCMA is you can go back and look at what you've done easily because it's all saved, and you have one method to create it that has multiple delivery methods. You can create it and you can do a live share. You can email it to a client. You can print it out to a client. And you can add all the pages that you want from your other presentation, like Lance's testimonial, put them in here, and every time you print it out, it can be part of that template. So my suggestion is still going to be, think of ways how can I help you find ways to make this work for you so that you can have the best of all worlds? And that's what I'm trying to do today. Did you have more questions, Lance?
Nope, that's it.
Okay. Any other questions? Then let's come back.
Greg, I have a question. When you mentioned about the change with that, your letters from folks.
Real Satisfied.
Yes, Real Satisfied, into wait until January. Is that something you're going to have a full class on? Because
oh, absolutely.
I've just never kept up on that, and I just thought, oh, I better kind of maybe pop those in once in a while. But I don't usually ask people to do those, but I do have. It's
going to be different. It's going to be faster. I think it's going to be easier to log in.
Okay.
I don't know what kind of interactions it will have yet, but I understand it's, when I talked to them, I said it would be important to be built on a platform that is easily shareable with things like CloudCMA. Now, whether they actually do that or not, I don't know. In my heart, I kind of more like what Lance has done in that I've collected the testimonials that I want to appear in this CMA, and then I might make a link to my page that has other information, testimonials, and so on. But I'd rather be in control and have a nice, pretty presentation of a half dozen rather than trusting somebody going to my page, seeing one or two maybe not as good as others, and then stopping there. I want them to see all the good ones. So
Got
that's
it.
my 2 bits. But
Cool.
I have had you guys for half an hour. We will do more on this come Thursday on how to set up your custom pages and other things. Bring your questions back with you, and knock on wood, the MLS will be working a little better. So I'll show you how to get them right over in here. Is that good for everybody?
Thank you,
Good.
Greg.
Thanks. Thanks,
I'm going
Greg.
to quit recording now.